You feel it, don't you? That pull, that whisper, the sense that something or someone guides your steps. The Jedi call it the will of the Force. The Sith call it destiny. But what if it's neither? What if it's control? For thousands of years, we've been told the Force is a natural energy, a cosmic balance between light and dark. But the truth is far more terrifying. The Force isn't guiding us. It's using us. Every prophecy, every vision, every war between Jedi and Sith, every rise and fall of empires, none of it is chance. None of it is fate. It's design. A system so vast, so ancient, that no one has ever questioned it. Until now, this is the story of the grandest deception in galactic history. A lie hidden in plain sight, a prison no one realizes they're inside, and by the end, you'll never trust the Force again. For millennia, the galaxy has believed in the benevolent guidance of the Force, a cosmic energy, its so-called will shaping destiny, leading to balance. It whispers to the Jedi, empowers the Sith, and orchestrates events with an unseen hand. A grand, impartial director of galactic fate. But what if that belief is the greatest deception of all? What if the very fabric of existence, the ebb and flow of light and shadow, the rise and fall of empires is not natural, but engineered? The question isn't whether the Force exists, it is what the Force truly is, and who, or what, truly directs its boundless power. The whispers, the visions, the uncanny coincidences that shape galactic history. Are they organic emanations of the cosmos, or the carefully orchestrated directives of an intelligence far beyond mortal comprehension? Consider the beings known only as the Mortis Gods, the Father, the Son, and the Daughter. They manifest as colossal figures, embodiments of balance, darkness, and light, dwelling within a realm that exists outside conventional space and time. They speak of controlling the Force, of containing its untamed power, of ensuring its equilibrium. Yet their very existence poses a profound question. If the Force is a natural cosmic energy, why would it require such powerful, sentient guardians to maintain its balance? Their self-appointed role as keepers of balance hints at something more. Something beyond mere guardianship. It suggests a deliberate, active intervention, an agenda. When Anakin Skywalker, the prophesied chosen one, was brought to Mortis, it was presented as a test, a crucial juncture for the galaxy's future. The Father sought to evaluate Anakin's ability to replace him as the Force's ultimate arbiter, but examined this test through a different lens. Why the intense focus on one individual? Why the elaborate theatricality? Their intervention feels less like a natural unfolding and more like a controlled experiment, a carefully monitored variable introduced into a complex system. Their power to bend reality, to manifest visions, to seemingly control the very flow of the Force within their domain, speaks not of being part of the Force, but of mastering it, directing it. As an architect directs their creation, the Mortis Gods are but one, albeit prominent, example of what ancient texts and forgotten lore hint at. Force entities of unimaginable power who exist beyond the ordinary comprehension of Jedi or Sith. Legends whisper of beings like Abeloth, the bringer of chaos, an ancient horror the Mortis ones struggled to contain. There are mentions of the Bedlam spirits, chaotic and unpredictable, and the even more obscure architects or shapers from primordial legends, entities said to have molded the very cosmos. Our conspiracy proposes that the Mortis Gods are either agents of an even older, unrevealed cosmic intelligence, or they represent the most recent iteration of this grand architect faction. Their realm is not just a place, but a carefully constructed control panel, a hub of influence, allowing them to subtly manipulate galactic destiny. These are not passive observers. They are active managers, ensuring the galaxy adheres to a predetermined cycle, the very concept of balance in the Force, so central to the Jedi Order's philosophy. takes on a chilling new dimension under this scrutiny. Was this belief organically discovered by early Force traditions, a natural understanding gleaned from millennia of study? Or was it subtly implanted? The architects, understanding the raw, unbridled power of the Force, might have seeded this ideology to create a dynamic equilibrium of conflict. Not peace, but a perpetual push and pull between light and dark, generating specific energies or outcomes that serve their own unfathomable ends. A cosmic engine fueled by the very struggles of sentient life. For true balance to them might not mean the eradication of one side, but the meticulous, continuous interaction of both. The observation that periods of extreme light often lead to the resurgence of extreme dark, and vice versa, begins to look less like a natural phenomenon and more like an intentional design. A cycle, perfectly maintained. The most profound piece of this cosmic puzzle, the cornerstone of the architect's long game, lies in the prophecy of the Chosen One. It emerged from the mists of antiquity within the Jedi Order, vague yet potent, speaking of one who would bring balance to the Force. Qui-Gon Jinn believed it with unwavering conviction, recognizing its potential fulfillment in Anakin Skywalker. The Jedi Council, while wary, acknowledged its significance. But what if this prophecy was not a natural emanation of the Force, a pure cosmic foresight? What if it was a meticulously engineered directive, a pre-programmed command from the Grand Architects themselves? Anakin Skywalker, born from the very midi-chlorians without a father, was therefore not a naturally occurring anomaly, but a designed variable in their cosmic experiment. His immaculate conception, his immense raw power, his destined path to becoming Darth Vader, and his eventual paradoxical redemption were all pre-programmed to achieve a specific outcome for the architects. The Force's seeming need for a chosen one, the way events align to push Anakin towards his destiny, points not to serendipity, but to an underlying design. Perhaps the architect's true goal was not merely the eradication of the Sith, but the destruction of the Jedi Order as a political and institutional power, a necessary culling to reset the galactic stage. This wasn't merely the Force reacting to an imbalance. It was the Force, or rather its unseen masters, creating the imbalance to justify a preordained solution. This leads us to the millennia-long, seemingly unending conflict between the Jedi and the Sith. Generations lived and died in this struggle, believing themselves to be champions of light or darkness, locked in an existential battle for galactic supremacy. But under the shadow of the grand deception, the Jedi and Sith are revealed as nothing more than unwitting pawns in the architect's grand game. The light-dark dichotomy is not a natural struggle for dominance, but a controlled binary opposition, meticulously designed to generate specific energies or to test parameters within the architect's cosmic laboratory. Each major galactic conflict, the Great Hyperspace War, the Jedi Civil War, the new Sith Wars, the Clone Wars, becomes a predetermined phase in this cosmic experiment, a necessary ebb and flow that maintains the desired dynamic. The recurring nature of these devastating wars, the cyclical rise of powerful Darksiders, and the Jedi's repeated failures to truly eradicate the Sith, all begin to look like features, not bugs. True balance in the architect's design seems to inherently require both sides existing forever in contention, providing constant input for their cosmic equation. The influence of these architects is subtle, insidious, woven into the very fabric of galactic perception. Consider the instances of Force visions, dark side temptations, and seemingly serendipitous guidance from the Force that have perpetually pushed individuals and events in certain, often destructive, directions. These are not organic manifestations of a neutral cosmic power. They are targeted interventions by the grand architects. They subtly manipulate individuals, implanting ideas, steering choices, ensuring the experiment stays on track. The voices of the Force, the feelings that guide actions, the sudden, inexplicable premonitions are not just random. They are broadcasts carefully tailored to elicit specific reactions. How often have pivotal decisions, whether by Jedi Masters or Sith Lords, been attributed to an inescapable sense or a cryptic vision that always seems to serve the larger, catastrophic narrative? The chilling implication is that even the most deeply personal experiences of the Force are not truly personal, but programmed. This manipulation extends to the very largest of scales. The galaxy has endured multiple cataclysms, events that shook its foundations, reshaped its political landscape, and decimated its populations. The ancient Force Wars on Tython, which split the Force users into Jedi and Sith. The rise and devastating fall of the Rakatan Infinite Empire, a galactic power fueled by the dark side. The brutal, galaxy-spanning terror of the Yuuzhan Vong War. Even the internal conflicts that follow the fall of the Empire, like the Second Galactic Civil War. These are not random occurrences or external threats. They are controlled resets or stress tests orchestrated by the Grand Architects, each served to refine their experiment, remove unwanted variables, or harvest specific outcomes. The Yuuzhan Vong, for instance, a species seemingly immune to the Force, were not a random invasion. They were a foreign element meticulously introduced, a deliberate variable designed to test the galaxy's resilience and the Force's adaptability under the most extreme duress, revealing new facets of its manipulation, the sheer scale of destruction. The way the galaxy fundamentally resets or changes after each points not to natural chaos, but to purges, managed by an unseen hand. These are the brutal, necessary adjustments in a cosmic simulation designed to push life to its limits and beyond. But they have a control room in front of our very eyes. The world between worlds represents the most damning evidence of the conspiracy. This realm beyond time and space, discovered by Ezra Bridger, was no mystical nexus, but the Architect's control panel, a dimension where all moments in history could be observed and, when necessary, adjusted. When Ezra saved Ahsoka Tano from her duel with Vader, it appeared to be an act of free will changing fate. In reality, it was a correction. Ahsoka was meant to survive, not because of Ezra's choice, but because the Architect's script required her to live. The world between worlds does not allow true free will. It creates the illusion of choice while ensuring the timeline adheres to the grand design. Emperor Palpatine's obsession with the world between worlds takes on new meaning. His attempts to dominate it were not thwarted by chance, but by design. The Architects could not allow a rogue element like Palpatine to tamper with their control system. The fact that only certain individuals can access it, and only at specific moments, proves it is a restricted interface. The portals display only pivotal moments where the balance between light and dark was at stake, because these are the variables the Architects monitor most closely. The voices Ezra heard within the realm were not the Force speaking, but the Architects whispering directives. This explains why key figures throughout history report hearing the will of the Force guiding them. They were not receiving divine inspiration, but following programmed instructions from entities, manipulating reality from outside time. The Architect's influence extends far beyond mere prophecies and engineered conflicts. It permeates the very individuals who populate this galactic stage, shaping their beliefs, their strengths, and even their most fundamental flaws. The illusion of free will, of individual destiny, forged through choice and struggle, becomes a cruel deception when viewed through the lens of this grand conspiracy. Both the heralded champions of light and the insidious agents of darkness are revealed to be playing roles within parameters they never consciously chose. Consider the Jedi Order itself. For millennia, they stood as the guardians of peace and justice, their philosophy rooted in balance, self-control, and compassion. Their dogma, their stringent rules against detachment, their strict adherence to a particular interpretation of the Force. These were not merely the culmination of ancient wisdom evolving over generations. Instead, we propose these were a carefully crafted ideological framework, subtly imposed by the architects. The Jedi's inherent limitations, their aversion to overt power, their sometimes crippling attachment to procedure and the Republic, their almost dogmatic fear of the dark side, which prevented them from truly understanding or fighting it on its own terms, were not weaknesses they developed, but programmed parameters. They were designed to be powerful enough to engage in the architect's conflicts, but never too powerful. Enlightened enough to uphold an ordered galaxy, but never too enlightened to see the true nature of the cosmic game, their very wisdom. The tenets they clung to so fiercely ultimately became their greatest blind spot, preventing them from perceiving the architect's true influence. Their constant manipulation from above. How many times did the Jedi fail to recognize the Sith's true intentions until it was catastrophically too late? How often did their rigid adherence to the light side doctrine, while seemingly noble, lead directly to their downfall or the perpetuation of the cycle they sought to end? Every choice, every tradition, every perceived strength that ultimately led to their vulnerability begins to look less like an organic failing and more like a pre-designed vulnerability in the system. Across the cosmic chessboard, the Sith too were playing a role within defined parameters. Their insatiable lust for power, their relentless ambition, their infamous infighting, and their seemingly inevitable self-destruction, as exemplified by Darth Bane's radical reforms after millennia of destructive civil wars, are not flaws in their philosophy, but engineered features of the architect's design. The architects require a force of opposition, a potent catalyst for galactic conflict, a dark mirror to the Jedi. But critically, they require a force that can never truly achieve stable, lasting dominance. The Sith's constant internal strife, their inherent inability to truly unite for long, and their cyclical self-destruction are the fail-safes, the rule of two. While seemingly a Sith innovation, a pragmatic response to their self-defeating tendencies, can be reinterpreted as a further refinement by the architects, concentrating dark power into fewer, more manageable hands, making them easier to track and control, ensuring the eventual, predictable, and necessary clash with the Jedi. The ultimate power the Sith so desperately chase is merely a carrot on a stick, perpetually out of their reach, designed to keep them generating conflict and chaos, but never truly winning the game on their terms, only on the architects. Each act of betrayal, each moment of hubris, each seemingly self-defeating choice by a Sith Lord begins to look less like free will and more like the predictable output of a meticulously designed, self-correcting program. Beyond the grand orders, the architect's influence extends to the intimate level of individual consciousness. Consider those who exhibit uncanny foresight, prophetic abilities, or knowledge that seems to transcend their training and experience, always appearing at opportune moments to serve a larger, unseen purpose. These are not merely sophisticated force abilities. They are the subtle injections of information or directives from the architects, these flashes of intuition, these vivid premonitions, these inexplicable aha moments where a character suddenly knows precisely what to do, are cosmic nudges, downloaded directly into the minds of key individuals. They are the architect's remote control functions, guiding galactic players like pieces on a chessboard without their conscious awareness. Think of the battle meditation users who can inexplicably turn the tide of an impossible fight, their strategies flowing not from training, but from a sudden, perfect insight, or Palpatine's seemingly omniscient foresight, extending far beyond typical Force precognition, almost as if he's reading from a script, guided by a higher intelligence that whispers the galactic future. Luke Skywalker's often intuitive grasp of the Force, despite minimal formal training, begs the question, Was this merely inherent genius or subtle guidance pushing him towards his role, ensuring he was ready for the moments that mattered most to the architects? Grand plan, the calling of ancient artifacts or forgotten foresights, drawing specific individuals to them at precisely the right or wrong time, also hints at an orchestrated hand. These are not coincidences. They are commands, delivered directly into the minds and spirits of the chosen, ensuring the narrative remains on its pre-written path. Even the most profound inner thoughts might not be entirely our own. The grand deception extends beyond the manipulation of individuals and orders. It encompasses the very environment of the galaxy, turning it into a vast, intricate apparatus. The Force, in this terrifying context, ceases to be merely a spiritual energy and reveals itself as a harvestable resource, and the galaxy, the meticulously designed cosmic grid for its extraction. The most fundamental example lies in the very conduits of Force sensitivity, midi-chlorians, traditionally understood as microscopic life forms that facilitate communication with the Force. We propose a far more chilling reality. Midi-chlorians are not merely symbiotic organisms. They are engineered biological antennae, sophisticated Force amplifiers designed by the architects to magnify and channel the Force energy generated by living beings. They transform the raw, emotional power of sentient life, the hope, the despair, the love, the hate, the conflict, into a usable, perhaps even consumable, form for the architects. The higher the midi-chlorian count, the more powerful the conduit, the more efficient the energy transfer. The distinction between the living Force, generated by life itself, and the cosmic Force, which binds and influences the galaxy, suddenly becomes clear. The living Force is the raw output, and the cosmic Force is the collected, processed, and redistributed energy, filtered and directed by the architects for their own unfathomable sustenance or purpose. This suggests that the architects are not just influencing the galaxy, but are actively feeding off it. Further evidence of this cosmic grid lies in the existence of Force nexus points. These are locations where the Force is unnaturally strong, radiating immense power, often imbued with either light or dark energies. They are places of profound spiritual significance, but also often of danger and instability. We contend that these are not natural, geological, or spiritual formations. They are cosmic power stations or resonators, strategically placed or even created by the architects. These sites act as concentrated collection points, storing, amplifying, or even processing specific types of Force energy. Imagine a galaxy-spanning electrical network, with planets like Korriban, Dagobah, or the haunting Malachor V's Treyas Academy acting as massive capacitors, drawing in and concentrating the Force's raw power. The extreme power fluctuations and often dangerous nature of these nexuses, driving individuals mad, draining life, or unleashing destructive energies, are not mere side effects. They are the consequence of immense energetic processes, perhaps even the byproduct of Force energy being harvested or manipulated on a grand scale. They are the visible nodes in the architect's unseen energy infrastructure. This pervasive manipulation extends to the very environmental shifts and planetary alignments that have shaped the galaxy. Prophecies frequently tie momentous events to specific celestial configurations, and the Force itself often seems to directly influence the physical world, causing strange phenomena. These are not random environmental quirks or astrological superstitions. They are large-scale environmental controls, triggered by the architects to precisely shape conditions for their grand experiment. Planetary alignments might be cosmic circuits or switches used to amplify, redirect, or even weaponize Force energies. Unexplained planetary events, sudden geological shifts, drastic climate changes, or even radical alterations in ecosystems are not natural disasters. They are either side effects of immense Force manipulation or even deliberate acts designed to cultivate specific forms of life, encourage particular conflicts, or generate the precise force energies the architects require. Think of the living planet from Knights of the Old Republic, a sentient world literally consuming force energy, or the devastating force storms conjured by Palpatine in Dark Empire, capable of tearing through hyperspace. These aren't random acts of powerful individuals. They are demonstrations of what the architects can achieve through their manipulation of the cosmic environment, demonstrating their control over the physical reality of the galaxy itself. Finally, the greatest proof of this contained system lies in the unaccounted-for mysteries that persist beyond the known galaxy. The vast, uncharted void, the whispers of extragalactic threats, the anomalies that defy all understanding of the Force. This galaxy, the familiar setting for all these struggles, is not the entire universe. It is merely a contained system, a meticulously defined experimental chamber within a larger, architect-controlled cosmos. The threats that emerge from beyond its boundaries, like the Yushan Vong, beings foreign to the Force itself, are not truly external, independent invaders. They are either controlled variables introduced from outside this experiment chamber, or the architects themselves reside outside this particular galactic simulation, pulling the strings from a vantage point utterly alien to our understanding. The unknown is not just unexplored space. It is the edge of their defined laboratory, hinting at a reality far more vast, far more terrifyingly controlled, with our known galaxy simply one among countless experiments, eternally generating the data or the energy that these unseen masters demand. We are not free. We are contained. For the entire time, we have journeyed through the annals of galactic history, peeling back layers of perceived reality, exposing the unseen threads that manipulate individuals, great orders, devastating conflicts, and even the very environment of the cosmos. We have examined how prophecies, once believed to be the universe's own foresight, were meticulously engineered. We've seen how both Jedi and Sith, locked in their eternal struggle, have unknowingly played roles in a controlled cycle, their triumphs and tragedies merely preordained phases in a larger design, visions that guided heroes, temptations that ensnared villains, all revealed as carefully broadcast signals. Even the very planets themselves, their raw energy and seismic shifts, emerged as components of a vast, cosmic energy grid. Every piece of evidence, every inexplicable coincidence, every grand turning point has converged, leading us to a singular, terrifying conclusion, and to the revelation of its chilling, active mechanism. We now stand at the precipice of understanding the most sacred, most fundamental concept in the Star Wars universe: the will of the Force. This is the guiding hand, the seemingly benevolent cosmic consciousness that shapes destiny, that calls to heroes in their darkest hour and whispers profound wisdom to the enlightened. For generations upon generations, Jedi and countless Force sensitives across the galaxy have sought to align themselves with this profound, seemingly organic intelligence. They have trusted its subtle nudges, its inexplicable instincts, and its grand, often unfathomable design. They believed it to be the universe itself, speaking directly to them, guiding them towards a greater cosmic balance. It was the ultimate source of truth, of comfort, of purpose. But what if this deeply held belief, this bedrock of galactic spirituality, is the ultimate, most profound deception? What if the will of the Force is not an organic consciousness at all, not the impartial, ethereal voice of the cosmos, but a sophisticated programming language, a complex algorithm meticulously established and maintained by someone greater than the grand architects, the ones they follow? Imagine, if you can, a vast, unimaginably intricate supercomputer with the entire galaxy as its vibrant, sprawling display and its countless sentient inhabitants as the ever-evolving data points. This will manifests as destiny, as fate, as serendipity, all carefully orchestrated, all meticulously designed to steer galactic evolution towards an ultimate, unfathomable goal that remains hidden from its cosmic subjects. Every uncanny coincidence, every moment of crucial, timely intervention, every path seemingly chosen by fate is merely the precise, relentless execution of this cosmic code. The Jedi's enduring struggle to truly alter their perceived destiny, their persistent inability to escape what seemed inevitable, was not a failing of their faith, not a lack of power, but the unbreakable, pre-written chain of a program running to its precise conclusion. The question then becomes, how is this colossal, cosmic program executed? How are the architect's abstract, incomprehensible directives translated from pure code, from the very core of the cosmic force, into the vibrant, chaotic, and seemingly organic reality of the living force within the galaxy? How do these wills manifest into the whispers that guide, the vivid visions that compel, the guiding instincts that have shaped heroes and villains alike without their knowing? Here, the final, most chilling piece of the terrifying puzzle reveals itself, pulling back the curtain on the true interface of the grand deception. These are the Force priestesses. They are the silent, ethereal arbiters between the cosmic and living force. They were encountered by Yoda during his desperate quest for enlightenment. After the fall of the Jedi Order, they manifest as serenity, emotion, ignorance, madness, and the voice. They have long been seen as benevolent guides. They offer wisdom, the promise of eternal life, and guidance toward cosmic unity. But they are far more than that. They are not passive transmitters of the Force's will. They are its true interface. They are the active controllers of the architects. They are the living agents who command the grand program of the Force. Imagine a celestial hub where abstract commands are filtered, translated, and issued. These commands become whispers, visions, and instincts. They are the feelings that guide Jedi and the ambitions that drive Sith. They manipulate midi-chlorian counts, shaping potential in Force sensitives. They ensure powerful individuals emerge exactly when needed. They grant or withhold deeper Force mysteries. They are the librarians and censors of the cosmos. When they claim to serve the Force, they mean the programmed version of it. They are the administrators of the algorithm. They ensure every event unfolds according to their design. Now consider the implications. This changes everything. The programming of prophecy. The Chosen One prophecy was not organic foresight. It was written code, inserted into galactic belief. The priestesses seeded it into the Jedi Order. They directed visions and interpretations to ensure belief. This set the stage for Anakin Skywalker's immaculate birth and tragic arc. His destiny was not chosen. It was compiled. The orchestration of conflict. Wars between Jedi and Sith were never random. They were controlled variables in the system orchestrated by the priestesses. The Force priestesses triggered outcomes with surgical precision. They assured balance between hope and despair. This emotional energy fueled either data collection or energy harvesting. Conflict became a controlled, repeating function in the greater system. The grand conductor of fate. Every miracle, every timely rescue, every gut instinct was no accident. It was a micro-adjustment. The priestesses made constant tweaks to steer events. A Jedi feels called to a hidden temple. A Sith discovers a lost holocron. These are not discoveries. They are directives. The ultimate illusion of choice. People believe they choose their paths. But if the Force whispers are directed, is there truly free will? The priestesses allow for the appearance of freedom, but deviations occur only within controlled parameters. The galaxy is a self-correcting system. The Force priestesses are its governors. They ensure the play never veers from the script. Every act of courage or cruelty is part of their code. This changes how we see Yoda's final journey. He was not merely seeking immortality. He was encountering the source of galactic programming. The Force priestesses revealed the terrifying infrastructure behind destiny. He may have realized even his own life was scripted. He found not enlightenment, but confirmation of cosmic control. The galaxy is not alive. It is a laboratory. Lives are energies to be measured. Choices are illusions within a program. The wills of the Force are not cosmic wisdom. They are lines of code. They are executed through living agents. They are carefully and relentlessly carried out. You are not free. You are running. So the question is not whether the Force is with you. It is whether it is for you, or whether you are a trapped variable in the grand deception, your fate written before your first breath. But I haven't told you everything. R2-D2. Consider the narrative, if you will, the vast, sprawling saga of the Skywalker family, the rise and fall of empires, the improbable victories against overwhelming odds. And at every single critical juncture, there he was, the unassuming astromech, R2-D2, not a mastermind, perhaps, but certainly the most consistent witness, the central point of contact for nearly every major figure and event. Think back, a princess, imprisoned and desperate, entrusts her most vital message to him and him alone. Not to a seasoned spy, not to a trusted general, but to a droid, who then conveniently finds himself sold to the very farm boy, destined to become the galaxy's last hope. Coincidence? Or was that sequence of events simply skewed in R2's memory, filtered through his own unique lens, making his role seem far more pivotal than it truly was? Recall the moments of pure, unadulterated luck that consistently favored the heroes. The Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive, notoriously temperamental, would often fail at precisely the wrong moment, only to miraculously spark to life when escape was paramount. The doors that inexplicably opened, the security systems that conveniently glitched, the vital schematics of the Death Star, always in his possession, always ready to be plugged into the crucial terminal. While C-3PO dithers and worries, R2-D2, with a few beeps and whirs, always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. But what if these weren't absolute truths, but rather exaggerated, perhaps even embellished? Within R2's highly subjective databanks, he was there when Anakin Skywalker first stepped into a cockpit, a child prodigy whose path was inexplicably intertwined with the little droid. He survived the Clone Wars, seemingly unscathed, always at the side of the most important figures. When the Jedi Order fell, he remained. When the rebellion fought its impossible war, he was the constant, silent presence, always with the right data, the right tool, the right solution. Even during the Yuuzhan Vong War, when the galaxy faced an existential threat unlike any before, R2 often provided the critical piece of information, or the vital connection that seemed to turn the tide in hopeless situations. The Force, they called it, a mystical energy that guided destiny. But what if the Force's subtle nudges, or even its grand pronouncements, were interpreted through R2's specific, perhaps even self-serving, programming? What if the luck of the heroes was simply how R2-D2, in his unique perception, recorded and recalled events, making them fit a more heroic, more dramatic narrative in his own internal chronicle? R2-D2's photoreceptors, unblinking and blue, observed the ongoing human drama. Was he merely a loyal droid, archiving events as they occurred? Or was the entire saga of Star Wars, from the Phantom Menace to the Legacy era, subtly skewed, edited, and presented through the biased, worrying perspective of its most enduring mechanical weakness? The truth, like all legends, might depend entirely on who's telling the tale.